And I propose to the participant to go to the next and the last roundtable and give the floor to my colleague Montserrat Alom in order to discuss the next topic, how EdTech enables new form of exam with the example of platform. Montserrat, I give you the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nicolas. So as Nicolas just mentioned, in this last roundtable, last one of the forum, we are going to tackle the issue of evaluation. Well, this topic is both touchy and unavoidable, since we cannot launch distance learning without having found a solution that allows for evaluating our courses, our diplomas. Of course, this evaluation can take very diverse forms, such as questions and answers, case studies, oral examinations, and so on. And in all cases, multiple issues are at stake. And we don't always know the different solutions, the different tools that are available to face them. So to talk about this key issue, we are honored to have with us today two guests who have thought about these challenges in advance and who have devised specific solutions to deal with them. So let me welcome Clément Régnier. Clément Régnier is the co-founder and the CCO of the EdTech Test-Oui, which is based in France. And I would also like to welcome our second guest, although I think that he's not connected yet. I will just mention him and we will start with Clément. So our second guest is Bert Willin, who is the founder and manager of Televic Education. And he's also research fellow at the Catholic University of Leuven in Belgium. So, well, thank you, Clément, for having accepted our invitation. And I think that we will start by chatting together. And afterwards, we will, when Bert will join us, we will also, of course, discuss with him about evaluation. So
thank you so much, Montserrat, for the invitation, and hi to everyone.
Sure, thank you, Clément. So could you tell us a little bit more about you and about your EdTech?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for the question. So I'm Clément Régnier, the co-founder, as you said, of Test-Oui and also the CCO of Test-Oui. So basically, I'm in charge of the commercial part and partnership programs for Test-Oui. And we've been founded 7 years ago. And now we have 3 offices, one in Paris. The headquarters are in Paris, and one office in Lausanne, Switzerland, and one office in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So we are really honored to meet you all today. And maybe a few words about Test-Oui. Test-Oui is an e-exam platform for both in-class and remote exam sessions. So when I say remote exam session, basically we talk about what we commonly know as proctoring solution today. And it is to say that as a professor or as an instructor or admin member, from the same platform, I can administer exam in my exam room or remotely and in a secure and locked down environment. So anti-cheat and cheat-free environment. So on the one hand, we have the professor admin interface from which you can grade, you can manage, grade, and invigilate exams, whatever kind of question, MCQ, opening question, fill in the blank questions, or question, etc., etc. And on the other hand, we have the student interface from which students take their exams on their own device in an offline mode, so without any internet connection, or in a full web mode. So it is to the professor to decide, or to administration to administer that and to decide and to choose the settings.
Very well. So I can see that Bert just joined us. So Bert, be the most welcome. And thank you for having accepted also our invitation. No problem, we have just started. So you are almost on time. And Bert, Could you also tell us a little bit more about you and about your EdTech, please?
Yes. So I'm Bert Weilin. I'm from Belgium. We're based in very near the French border in Belgium. Televic Education is an EdTech company that was started as a spin-off company from the University of Leuven in 2001. So some people call us dinosaurs in the EdTech world because we're already a bit older, but we essentially do online assessments. So very much comparable to what TestWe is doing. We have our own platform for formative and summative assessments and proctoring, etc. So that's what we do. So yeah, that's my short introduction.
Very well, thank you very much, Bert. So now I will start by asking Clément about the issue of the identity of the student that takes the assessment. So how can we make sure that the right student is taking the exam? Are there additional challenges posed by distance learning in this regard compared to face-to-face exams? And Clément, how can we tackle these challenges according to your experience?
Okay, thank you. I would say that this is the really first challenge for both in-class exams and of course for remote exam sessions. Why? Because we have to guarantee to the professors, to the administration that it is Montserrat that is taking the exam and it's not his sister or his mother or a friend of her. So as when you come over to class to take an exam, not for like a kind of a little test or continuous assessment exam, you wouldn't ask for the ID at the beginning of the test, but for I would say high-stake exams, basically even in class, the instructor invigilator would ask for the ID. Okay, and so it is the same process. We got the inspiration from what is happening in class, and we just copy paste the system for remote exam session. So first, before really like entering and starting the exam, we would ask the students to first show his ID. But when I say ID, it could be passport, it could be student card, it could be driving license, it could be whatever the administration or professors ask as an identity proof. Okay. Then so he has to show to the webcam his ID. And then we're going to take a shot of the ID. And second step, we ask the student to show his face to the webcam, and we're going to take a shot of it. Okay, so we have two pictures. And here is the authentication. So how does it work? We have two systems. Okay. Two systems that is to the professor or administration to choose regarding his willingness, regarding maybe the local regulation or other issues. First way to verify and validate the identity is just by the invigilator that is connected to platform is going to check like the two pictures, ID, and the face of the students, and it can validate or invalidate the ID of the students. It's really simple. So it's a human being doing the job. On the other part, we can organize the verification, validation of the ID by the machine, by the system. Okay, it's matching system operating by the platform, and so the human being, the invigilator, wouldn't have to do anything except maybe verifying what the machine hasn't checked as validated. This system to work, we would need to have in the platform already uploaded in the platform a referential picture. So maybe before the first step, the first test, we would integrate in TestWe platform an official picture of Montserrat. Okay. And then we would have this picture as the reference of Montserrat's face. And then for all the tests taken on TestWe, we would compare all the pictures taken with the first reference pictures. And then the system would do all this checking automatically. So as we said, either human verification or mechanical, let's say, verification, depending on what the professor wants, and recording, of course, recording of the what the regulation authorizes or not.
Thank you, Clément. That was very clear. I'm happy to have been of use. So now, with regard to the content, the answers provided by students. It seems that distance learning opens up new possibilities in terms of cheating, of cheating by students when taking an exam. If I'm not wrong, of course, Clément will be able to confirm or not this assumption, and what can we do about that?
So yeah, it's another challenge, of course, because when we spoke about remote exam, we first have to guarantee that the student doesn't have access to any other maybe interface, application, or content. But we also have to think about what else can happen during the exam. So, for instance, internet cut, power cut, or webcam malfunctions, for instance. So we have to have in mind all these issues and to try to organize and to solve all of that issue before the test can start. Okay. But in terms of invigilation and cheating matters, first of all, test suite will guarantee a lockdown environment. So as soon as the test starts, the student cannot access every other kind of content, application, web page, document, or whatever. It's really locked on the test. Okay, the only way to leave the test is to hand over the paper. And if he closes test suite, hand over the paper, he cannot access back to his exams and add some content. So this is the first thing. Second thing is that we're gonna ask the student right after the identification part step. We're gonna ask the student to first to show his desk. Okay, so we don't have to record his desk with the webcam. Then we're gonna ask the student to show his room, the room where he's taking the exam. So he will have to show to the webcam the four corners of the room to make sure that no one is hidden behind the bed, under the bed, or whatever, So we're going to securize the room. And then we ask the students to show his ears to make sure it doesn't have any earplugs or whatever. He could then organize kind of a cheating and fraud system. And as soon as the test starts, then we have different features, different way to organize the invigilation. It could be live invigilation, okay, by video as Teams or WebEx or Zoom conference. So I'm the invigilator. I can check over 9 different students take the exam. I can speak to them. I can ask them to show me what's on the wall, because I can check that this specific student is watching to the wall every 10 seconds. So maybe he has plug on the wall, pin on the wall some papers or documents. Okay, so it is a live system with the video and the sound. To the live system, I can of course also add the mobile phone recording. So I will have the webcam from the computer and the webcam from the smartphone. But this is the really top level of invigilation. Then I can have the delayed invigilation via the video. So we're gonna record the video and we can play it later, okay? And we also have a bit like lower kind of invigilation via pictures and sound. It's a session of pictures and sound. And this system is really well appreciated, mainly because it works totally offline without any internet connection. And the really good thing of this possibility is of this feature is to work on very high volume of students that takes the same exam at the same time. We can go up to 20,000, 30,000 students taking the exam at the same time, because offline, because it will require less space on the computer to store the data. And so recording what you're are willing really to have as a level of invigilation, and maybe recording the volume of exam takers, and recording also at the internet connection of exam takers, you will choose the right features and the right mode of invigilation. And just one last thing, one really important issue professors and institutions have to keep in mind is that national regulations indicate that it is necessary to adapt the modalities of surveillance and that they are proportionate and legitimate to the aim pursued. Okay, so for continuous assessment, to have the live invigilation with the mobile phone is not possible. But for high-stake exam, it would be okay regarding the legislation. So you really have to keep that in mind. Otherwise, you will like slip away from the regulation, and it would be really a big issue then.
Thank you very much, Clément. In fact, I can see a question on the chat that you have already addressed, but I don't know if the participant that is asking this question needs further details. I can see that, well, José Manuel asks, what about if I decide to give the place to, for instance, my father after my identity check? Well, you have already addressed this aspect, but I don't know if he would like more details or not. I don't know if Jose Manuel can just.
Yeah, so for instance, if you're on a live mode, I guess the invigilator will really easily check that Montserrat is not Montserrat anymore, that it is his father or his sister or his mother. So like if you have a swap between two human beings, I guess like the invigilator will definitely spot it. If we are on a delayed mode, our team will review all the videos and all the pictures. So it will be visible and spotted by our team. And for the pictures, like pictures mode, okay, the system will compare one pictures to another to make sure it is the same person from the very beginning until the very end of the exam.
Okay, yeah, it looks like it's okay now after I can see. So very well. So thank you, Clément.
My pleasure.
Now I will turn to our second guest. Thank you, Clément. So Bert, this is a question for you. Mm-hmm. If distance learning seems to favor written exams in particular, what about oral exams? Is it possible to conduct oral exams in a satisfactory manner? What can you tell us about that?
It's true that when we think about online exams, many people think about multiple choice exams, right? Something you can easily do online, and also that is corrected automatically by the system. So when we talk about exams, we often use this distinction between closed exams, that is where the answers are known by the system and the system will correct automatically, typically drag and drop, put in the right order, calculation things, multiple choice things. And then at the other side, you have the open questions where the answers can be very, very varied and where several answers can be correct. And in between them, we call the semi-open questions, but that's perhaps not what is here. But the oral exams typically are examples of open questions. You cannot predict what the answer will be. And I think all oral exams need to be graded, evaluated by a human after all. So we have done tests in our system to make a transcript of an oral exam and try to find keywords in those answers. But the thing with many oral exams is that many people don't speak in their native language, so they make errors. So the transcript contain errors, or their pronunciation or the connection is not perfect, and that creates problems. So actually, when we talk about oral exams, we end up in the category of exams where you can perfectly organize such an exam. And we already have several systems doing it, where you have either a question and then the student's answer is recorded orally through the webcam and the mic, of course. And that is saved into a system, and then graders or evaluators can go to those answers and give their feedback and grade. And more recently, I think some platforms have also evolved into live oral exams, where the oral exam is not only asynchronous, where you have a question or a source video and something to react on and to record, but where the teacher and the student, or the evaluator and the student, or in multiple, that can be a group, are together in one environment. And actually, you all know Zoom and Teams. Well, imagine things like that, but in an evaluation, in an assessment environment, where everything is recorded and is put into a grading system afterwards. And typically such grading systems then have rubrics where people can evaluate the fluency, the content, if it's about languages, the grammar, etc. So in different rubrics, people can be evaluated. Technically, I think everything is possible today to also do oral exams. And of course, the COVID crisis has sped up this process dramatically. I think the best use case that we have was the Australian National Authority for the evaluation of interpreters and translators. Their business model just stopped working with COVID. People could not travel to their exam centers anymore, so they lost their income and their business model stopped. So in a few months' time, we set up this system with them to organize those live oral, in that case, interpreter exams from a distance, and that works perfectly. And I'm 100% sure they won't go back to the travel situation anymore. And perhaps one last element, that something that is innovative, I think, as well, is that while evaluating those recordings, those oral exams, very often people, evaluators, still want to give feedback. So in some situations, we allow them to add markers or bookmarks in the video files and add their feedback to that. And we make a catalog now of the errors, and they are categorized. So the errors are categorized, and you can learn so much from such a database with errors, and that is really useful to help organize and structure their future courses and education. So I think there is a lot of possibilities with oral exams as well in the digital world.
Very well, Bert. Thank you very much. So now I would like to address another challenge that is posed to us by distance learning, the challenge of the authentication of diplomas. I think it's important to talk about it in this forum. So, Bert, do we have any estimates on the number of fake diplomas that are currently on the market, and are there any solutions to guarantee the authenticity of the diplomas that our institutions are issuing? Yeah, well, that's a good question. And actually, it follows up on what Clément just said about preventing or trying to prevent fraud while taking an exam. But it's true that actually we don't have real numbers or figures about false diplomas. But the thing is, nobody wants to talk about it. The one that has a fake diploma will surely not tell that it is fake. And actually, institutions are not proud of having fake diplomas circulating. So it is very difficult to find concrete figures and to gather information about that. But I think in the press and in the media, sometimes things have happened to check the numbers of false diplomas. And if you look at it, I remember in Belgium there was a documentary, I think last year on the French Belgian television, that tried, and with a simple Google search, they and a credit card, of course, they bought a diploma, and they took that diploma to a diploma verification specialist, and he said, look, this paper is just perfect. I cannot identify it as false. It is just so good. And this is a real problem, and that company that
checks the authenticity of diploma says that 1 in 10 of the verifications that they do lead to the discovery of fraud. So this is important, right? So BBC last year also had a documentary about it, and they said it's a multi-million-dollar business. And at that time of that documentary, there was a hotspot in Pakistan that was really a diploma factory. So they discovered fake websites from fake institutions with fake diplomas, etc. So it is a real thing. It is an important thing. But the solution is also the digital thing. So it is not difficult at all to add something to your certificate or diploma that allows people to check the authenticity of a diploma. So in all the certificates that our system issues, there is a unique code and there is a website next to that unique code. And by just entering that unique code on that website, anyone can check the elements and the authenticity of such a document. So this is so easy to do. In the French session yesterday, people talked about BC Diploma, which is a French company, member of EdTech France, and they do the same. They with blockchain technology, that's why the BC comes from. They guarantee the traceability of diplomas. So this is an ideal thing to do with blockchain technology. Blockchain is specifically a system that allows other systems to check and verify and certify that a specific transaction is correct. So this is something that is really the digital online world will really help getting rid of those fake diplomas. So the shift from paper to digital, in my humble view, will really solve some of these questions. But of course, the initiative to check the authenticity will still be on the end user side. So an employer or a school will have to check that. I don't think people will come up with, but I know some institutions already ask a specific code, a verified code to be able to enter into new programs, for instance. So I think it is a big problem, but the technology will really help to solve that problem, I think.
Thank you for enlightening us. Well, we have still some minutes for some questions. I don't know if Clément would like to take the floor, because I can see that, well, there are some concerns about all the invigilation mode, you know, the surveillance during the students taking the exams. I don't know if you would like to add something in addition to what I can see on the chat.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So yeah, to answer back to Jose Manuel, yeah, it is demanding. Of course, I wouldn't say the other way. It is demanding, but the thing is to properly administering and organizing the test and having everything prepared in advance first. It is what I said already yesterday. Remote exams and proctoring exam is not and will not be a principle. It doesn't have to run this way. It doesn't have to be this way. Like COVID situation, of course, it's super easy, very convenient for everyone to organize remote exams, and we do not have choice anywhere. By the way, like if you want to administer your exam, you have to organize a remote exam and to find the proper solution to make sure is the right person, to make sure the person hasn't organized any kind of fraud system or cheating system. But it will not be the principle for the future exams have to be organized and have to be organized and administered in an exam room. But when you do not have the choice, you have to take the opportunity to use a proctoring solution. And of course, it is demanding, but just I bring here an example. Last April, we've had to organize with an institution an entrance test exam. It's really specific to France, where right after the high school. If you want to get admitted to business school, engineering school, or universities, you have to take a specific test. Okay, and we help this institution to organize a test for more or less 11,000 students at the same time, the very same day, on the very same exam. So it is a huge challenge. I wouldn't say the other way, but it is totally doable if we take the time to organize every little details in advance, and if we have all the team well organized and ready for the D-Day. But it is doable.
Thank you, Clément. So, well, it's time for questions, as I said. We still have some minutes if somebody from the public wants to ask some questions to the panelists. I don't know if there are some questions or more questions. Maybe I can ask one myself. Well, this is quite tricky because I don't know if there are participants, you know, from countries where IT is not as developed, you know, as for example in Europe. And I guess that some, at least some of the collaborators I know would ask, and what are we supposed to do if, well, some part of the students don't have cameras, don't have access to cameras in their places, for example? I guess that all this technology is difficult, right? To apply in certain contexts, to implement in certain contexts.
Yeah, but maybe like as Bert just said, the option given to the student is coming over to class or taking an exam at home. Okay, even if you live like 45 minutes away from the university, especially in this COVID situation, you would prefer to stay in your home, waking up like 15 minutes, 10 minutes before the start of the exam, rather than waking up like 2 hours in advance, going to the university, going through the different check control for COVID, temperature, hand sanitizers, etc., risking being really close by to other students that are maybe affected with the COVID, etc. So I guess like if you ask students, what would you prefer in between coming into class or taking your exam home, they would go for the exam, the remote exam, even if they would have to purchase a €15 or $15 webcam if they do not have any webcam. It's exactly the same for certification. We work with a university in Germany. They have participants from all over the world. Until last year, participants would have to come over in Germany once a year, from Rwanda, from Peru, from Japan. How much does cost a plane ticket, a flight ticket? Much more than a webcam. And University of Leuven, as Bert is a member of the teaching professor in Leuven, last year they were using TestWe, and they asked the students, okay, you have the choice. Either you come to class or you take your exam at home. Over 18,000 students population, only like 10 of them were coming over to class for the exam rather than staying at home. It is to say that it's kind of really well accepted from students.
Yeah, and Montserrat, perhaps another side of the same question is, of course, the technology needs to be there and the connection needs to be there and the infrastructure, the computers need to be there. So in less developed countries, of course, there are issues about the availability of devices, etc. But let's be honest, I mean, we've just in Belgium recently, there was a new initiative to organize central exams for primary school kids. Well, the minister also had to add a hardware part in his project because not all primary schools in Belgium have excellent connections. So there are issues. And I know that TestWe also has an option to download and make a local exam, for instance. So you don't always need the last technology and the most expensive things to still work in a decent and a good way technologically. But True. There are some basic infrastructural needs that need to be covered before you can start working with technology. But we're in the EdTech business. I mean, we must admit that we're depending a bit on that infrastructure in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe also the institutions, the universities should provide some of this equipment or part of this equipment also to those students that are in need.
Yeah,
well, this is another question, of course.
There are several
beyond
programs.
the forum, but it's something that has been pointed out in other webinars that we have organized. So thank you so much. I cannot see any other questions. So I think that I will give the floor to Corinne. I think that Corinne is the one closing the forum, if I'm not right, or is it Nicolas?
Actually, yes. it is Nicolas.
Nicolas, sorry.
That's him. That's IFCU.
I'll support him.
Don't fight. Don't fight.
You have my moral support for the conclusion, Nicolas.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Montserrat. Thank you, Corinne. Thank you, Clément and Bert. And also thank you to all the panelists who have shared their point of view and their approach regarding the mutation that the higher education world is facing in this post-COVID world, almost post-COVID world. Let's keep optimistic. I would like also, on the behalf of the IFCU team and the Secretary General, François Mabi, who apologize for not being here, but is truly with us, to thank all the participants from the IFCU network, participants from Asia, from Thailand, from Philippines, from Latin America, and also from Europe and Africa. Thank you to be with us during this EdTech Forum. So we just practical information. The forum of yesterday and the forum of today have been recorded, and you will receive a link in order to download the video of the recorded forum for the one who would like to watch it again, and for those who have not been able to follow the whole afternoon. So this link will be sent to you. And once again, a sincere thanks to all the participants and the panelists. And keep safe, and see you soon. Take care.